It's him. It's not you. And I think you're a great interrogator, Sailor. I think he should be letting you interrogate him, and he shouldn't be talking so much.
I assume they're in the room.
I want to say all the times I've seen you interrogate people, Sailor, have been amazing. So I have no reason to think that this time wouldn't be amazing too if Andrew stopped obstructing your interrogation.
You know, you should mute him just for even thinking.
Sailor, what's happening is you should ask him if that scripture is being spoken of figuratively or literally, and then see what he says.
A debate right now.
I take it that you're interpreting it. I take it that you're interpreting it figuratively, and he's interpreting it literally. So I think you got to figure that one out and try to bridge that gap.
I think we all settled that all down.
This is a concrete.
So, Sailor, are you going to ask him now, or you want me to ask him? I'm curious. So I need to ask him. So, Andrew, when he says you're children of wrath, do you believe that is speaking figuratively or literally? Is that hyperbole, or is that exact statement of the ontological reality?
Well, I mean, I don't think Wrath had a baby, and these are their babies. Free. Where all the Chinese are living, kind of. They don't put the 14th floor or floor number 4. They actually skipped them due to the Chinese superstition. We're the now here.
There's none left, but I'm telling you, from just being interested in some kind of homosexuality, some kind of I was watching this thing
No, I think initial Irina's point was even if there were no immigrants, still corporation would take advantage if you steal your work.
Remember our bet, Dolan, in April?
Much it becomes sort of like a suffocating feeling. So you got to find that sweet spot, this thing called balance. So
we have a solution for that actually, but it's a bit different. So if there are people who are stateless, and whether they know which country they're from, or their parents or grandparents, whatever, they have the option to go and fix their situation and have permanent residence. But most of them, or almost all, don't want to do that because they think that they would get the nationality.
Can I just say something? Because this is it's personal to me. In Iran, for example, you have to become an Iranian citizen is very, very difficult. I know.
And then and for that, Israel makes billions of dollars worth of improvements to those systems. So it may be called for it's more or less a joint venture on defense.
Absolutely. And these things benefit the country, right? At least in intention, right? Now, we could argue, hey, we don't think this is the best investment for the country. But we're just not throwing around money, we're the Sisters of Charity. We give money for specific reasons in the world. It's not as though... So, generally, it's not a lot of money that we give in foreign aid. It's not at all a huge part of the budget.
We give aid to Egypt, basically. It's an ongoing payment for their declaration of peace against Israel. They get over $3 billion a year. And that's why these countries that are incredibly poor resource-wise have, the massive armies and navies, etc., because they're getting that money from the U.S.
Well, as they say, America is the powerhouse of the world. Yeah.
Do you dare to say it, Christian? Do you dare to say it?
I think I dare to say so. I think we are the powerhouse of the world. Influentially, whether that's by influence or that's by militaristic power, I think we are. But that doesn't mean that we are the golden country. We're not the golden sun here. That's not what it means at all. Trust me, we still got our problems here in the U.S. We still got shit to deal with. And it all comes up to who's leading us, which currently is Donald J. Trump. So we will see how it goes.
Thank you, Christian. And let me say, I think your show is fantastic. I think this young guy, he comes up, right? He just comes out of the apes, the talking apes, and he's like, he seems like at least a talking orangutan to me. I mean, the guy, he's brilliant. I hear he likes Trump. I don't know, but he's a brilliant kid. He's doing beautiful things in the room, and it's fantastic.
I thought Trump didn't like apes.
I like apes that hang around Mar-a-Lago. Those are the good apes. Okay.
They're the good ones, alrighty.
But we can't have illegal apes, okay? They've got to come here legally. They've got to have, look, a lot of these countries, a lot of the zoos are sending like the worst apes out there, right? Like the rapists and murderers. Okay, these apes are running around, okay? They're eating the dogs, the cats, they're eating the bananas, okay? And that, it's terrible what the apes are doing, okay? They're eating the Haitians.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
It's not bad.
I need to inform you, Christian. I know you're young and innocent, although I don't want to say too much.
How it's been. There's always been training.
You know what? Shasha, you're right. Why are we celebrating the most normal, basic things? It got fucking so weird.
Not only that, but a lot of there were many cases of prisoners getting pregnant due to that. But Tally, what were you saying? I know you were trying to talk.
It got weird because people wanted to race and then use that.
Wait a minute, what about that
discrimination? And then that turns into a whole other problem because, again, these people aren't like blacks because blacks are just, it's a skin color. It's something you just are. It's not changing your biology to say you're something you aren't, to do something you shouldn't be doing. Like, it's a different, it's not even on the same level of playing field. Like, and it's weird, but people use that argument, and this opens the door, and this is how this DEI and all this other stupid shit gets ran amok. And then look at where it's at. Glad it's done.
What about that one judge that was forcing the victim of the, I guess, like the alleged rape crime to like call them by their preferred gender? So it's a man that identifies as a woman, but like within the court, like the judge was making like the people consider the, fucking, I guess the alleged rapist a woman. Like, is that out the door too?
I feel like Fourth was just trying to talk shit to me right now. Fourth, was that to me? Yeah, no, I'm just messing with him right now. He was talking to me about it.
It was just, but maybe, hit on all of it. But, it's all good.
It's okay. Go ahead. No, I hear your point. I hear what you're saying, and I'm glad that you explained that the way that you did, because, I guess I could see it from your perspective. Sorry, Mike. Okay.
No, it's all good. I'm just a little behind.
But Hope, to your point, like I said earlier, DEI wasn't about black people. It was hidden under the guise. It was about which gender you wanted to identify, what kind of, you're a fucking cat, you're a fucking moron, or whatever this is. And it was about virtue signaling. It had nothing to do with actual stats. This is why it's a good thing DEI ended, because a lot of those people that led it were the crusading types for trans and for these kind of things. And even the gays and the lesbians and the bisexuals were sitting there running away. They voted for Republicans. They're like, end this shit. They didn't like this shit. Like, you even had gay rights activists from the 80s, 70s, and 60s coming out and saying, had I known it would have gone this way, I never would have fought for any of this shit. I never would have fought back against the way we were treated. I wouldn't have been an activist because you took it too far. You went the wrong path. DEI is not about black people. It never was. It was just used as a tool. Unfortunately, black people, once again, in America, were used as a tool to justify something else that really went way too far.
I mean, I hope after this that things will slowly get added back in, you know, for the people groups that really need it and that deserve it. Not that it's going to get hijacked, which is what DEI turned into. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing what maybe the government comes up with in place of this, if anything, or what companies come up with. I know that they don't have to change it if it's a private company, but we have already seen a shift. You know, even Facebook, for example, is getting rid of DEI. So what are they going to do instead of this now to, what I believe, protect the people that should be protected, not whatever this is?
I hope we come up with something, though. I hope it just doesn't pave way for people to just kind of go back in history. I hope that they come up with something, to be honest.
Like, I would be, I get the fear, and I wouldn't have to live with that fear, but I would say this. I think we've reached a point in society today where if the government came down or somebody came down and said, you know what, black people, you should have your separate thing. You don't belong on this side of the tracks. I would hope that there would be people like me that would fight and say, all right, let's see how that goes in place, because I don't agree with that shit. So let's go. And I think like the civil rights movement had the right framework. I don't agree with all the leaders at that time, but I think honestly their overall message was fucking spot on. And I don't see us going back. But what I do see is like what happened with BLM. You know, you had colors and all of those. Take the fucking narrative and just run away with it and just hijack an entire actual movement that was talking about the abuses and the atrocities done by prosecutorial misconduct and police, and saying, what is the recourse? What standards are we setting for these type of things? And bringing to light a lot of issues, talking about the deaths that have basically watched cops just walk out with committing murder. I have huge issues with that. Prosecutorial misconduct is the leading cause why people are in prison, because they can do whatever the fuck they want without repercussions. And that ended. That immediately ended. It sparked for a minute, and then it was snuffed out, and it was taken over by a whole bunch of other shit.
By 3 lesbians. And their lesbian shit, bro. Black Lives Matter is a lesbian, it's like a lesbian.
That black lesbian.
It's encompassed so many other, struggles other than, Black lives or whatever. It's, weird. And I'm not saying that to be I'm homophobic. I'm not. It's just
Then why did you mention their sexual orientation?
Stop crying, bitch ass nigga.
Oh, wow, damn! I said 3 words. I'm crying.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, so stop it. Stop doing it. Stop doing it.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm taking a second while you talk.
Why are you being a bitch right now, bro?
Why are you being a bitch?
Why are you being a hoe?
I said 3 words. You call me a bitch. It's good.
Stop being a hoe, bro. Just stop.
Just because what you're saying is nonsense.
Stop being a fucking faggot, bro.
All right, cool.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I thought I deported this anchor baby yesterday.
Look, Tally made maybe this analogy would be better. So Tally's analogy is consider the average height and weight of a football player, like professional football player, and their propensity for violence, spousal specifically, but for the sake of visual similarity, what if the normal dudes in here had to shower and dress with a football team? I think that would be similar to a trans woman compared to a cis woman in terms of size difference and physical capability, and how it might feel to be in the midst of someone who could easily harm you if you chose to. One professional football player, nothing.
That was a lot.
So, Melissa, as somebody who's had to shower, because I was in the military, I showered with all sorts of, I will say this, guys who run and gun and have a very high propensity for violence. And, I mean, sometimes you get intimidated. Just for the record, not all black men are hung like Lincoln logs. I'm just telling you, sometimes it's a Lego down there.
Hey, yo, how would you know, Brad?
Dude, if you went through boot camp, you're gonna shower with.
Oh yeah, that's true. Where's Jet?
Like, yo, if you're talking about NFL players, we talking about like niggas that's dealing with head trauma, CTE, all types of shit. They got.
What are you talking about? Just shut up. You're retarded. So you're like Melissa. Yeah, there were guys that were in the military that were scrawny little things that they would say, man, fuck that. I want to be out of here. And then you'd see them run. You could tell they were intimidated because when you got these big guys that come through, you're like, fuck. I don't want to piss that guy off, but generally men don't act that way. Like we just generally don't, unless there's like some problem between two individuals. But generally, it's not that way. I just don't see it. I've never have seen it in my life. I don't know. Maybe some other guy. Maybe Dominic is more person you should ask since he's like what you're describing.
Seen what?
No, what she was trying to show is where I gave tried to give a hypothetical analogy of trying to articulate how one might feel, a man could feel if the shoe was on the other foot, so to speak, if the men were the weaker sex, right? And this was their problem because men clearly aren't that bothered by trans men, which are really women going into the bathroom. But why is that? Because they don't feel unsafe. So I tried to give an analogy that I don't know that it really works. So Tally was trying to create a different one, which I don't know if it really even articulates what I'm trying to say.
I don't even think the analogies are necessary. I mean, like, we're all pretty aware, like, about who the more vulnerable sex is. We all understand, like, the clear, like, issue, like, allowing trans people in women's bathrooms and women's spaces at that. We all know, like the potential dangers that like arise with that, like the clear inherent, physical differences, and temperamental differences, right? Like this is still a dude with, for the most part, like let's say.
In the evening, he will become a sleep or in the evening, he will be a mu'min and wake up a cat.
For a justification that Christianity is actually more justifiable than atheism. I believe he has his atheism a little bit confused with some other things, but that's okay. I heard that his position is backed by history and tradition. It has a trinity. What is that? He talked about time, matter, and space, and three elements and triple subdivisions within, something gassy. Why is atheism irrational? I'm not really sure. He says that there's a presupposition of naturalism, which brings forth our faculties about right and wrong. And that's not true. Atheism isn't necessarily tied with natural. Then he mentioned something about killing, the sun is shining, solipsism, and brains and bats. Then he made a claim that he has a benevolent God that can super.
Because she's the one that deserved it. Whoa.
Oh my god.
Hi, Edmund.
Too dark? Hi. How are you, Donnie?
No, for me, this is perfect, Jeff.
It was a bit dark, Jeff. That was amazing.
Yeah, for me, it's good. I'm all good with it.
Donnie, how are you? What part of the world are you calling in from? This is live on the air.
This is the era of now of the Slavs, so
it's all in fun and games. Danny's actually
4 years is the era of the Slavs, so go ahead, say it.
Yeah, no, Danny's ours. She's good people. So.
Amazing.
She's the
The audience, except Earth is back here. So let me.
Oh, and thanks to Cora.
Christian kicked me. Young Christian kicked me because Double Agent informed him that I'm recording.
Pride. It is not haram to have pride saying I'm Muslim.
Meanwhile, he's being like groomed by an older gay man here on this app.
And the Tabi, the generations before us,
was rebuttaling the opponent's opening statement.
Yeah, why are you talking right now? Why are you talking right now?
Well, because
I don't know why.
Because you both have different positions. And you were supposed to be supporting your position, not restricting his in your opening statement.
I just said that.
It's okay. He took his time to do that, so now they have. Now it's Crimsonite's time to rebut what Honey.
Yeah, and one of the points that I made, Chanita, was I have no reason to believe that a disembodied mind or an unembodied mind does anything at all in the cosmos. So you didn't hear that part?
No, but you spent like the majority of your time talking about rebuttaling his
Yeah,
position.
I talked about how he just put
That
forth
wasn't what-
nonsense, and now you're.
I know.
doing
I'm
the
just
same thing.
saying.
Why don't you just
I'm
shut
just
up?
saying. Is this not a formal debate or what?
Well, it's not anymore.
It's
Since you interjected.
Yeah, it's just between Honey and Crimsonite, and they can utilize their time however they do. So that's all.
I get it, but I'm just curious what the format is. I want to know what the format because I'm so confused right now.
Okay, well, just be confused, dude.
Okay, so Crimsonite, how much time you need to rebut? Let's keep it less than 6 minutes if possible.
Yeah, I'll keep it as brief as I can.
Well, you want 5? You want 4? Because I'll set a timer. Let me know.
Set it for 4 minutes.
You got 4 minutes starting now.
Okay, so in case I didn't go too much into detail as required by Honey to tackle the points that I'm bringing to the table, it is my position that the major prophecies outlined in the Old Testament, the 3 major ones being the destruction and perpetual desolation of Babylon. This is ancient Babylon that I believe this is prophesied in, I forgot the book, I'm sorry. But I think it might be in Ezekiel, but no one has a Bible in hand right now, you know, no value. That God had prophesied that it would not be inhabited from generation to generation. And that prophecy, I argue, stands true to this day. It may be falsified tomorrow or within the next 10 years, in which case this prophecy would be falsified. The second one being the destruction of the island city of Tyre, that is in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 26. The destruction would come about through King Nebuchadnezzar, and afterwards it would be overcome by the multitude of nations, by its adversaries, as the waves of the sea, which comes one after another, unlike what Dr. Josh says, as it's all supposed to happen suddenly. The third prophecy is by Daniel, that the Messiah, or one claiming to be the Messiah, would have the most credibility, would come within the 70th week, each weekday representing a year, so a week would be 7 years. And at the end of the 70th week would be at the end of 490 years after the reconstruction of the Second Temple. Jesus arrived onto the scene, and he performed miracles which are disputed, but nevertheless it was attributed to him. His resurrection and all that, we can go into detail. And scientific errors. God had told Job in the book of Job, and this is where you would find a scientific error, if any place in the Bible, because you have the one who made everything speaking how he did it and how it works. And what we only get from the book of Job is God describing how the sun causes the wind. Nobody knew that at the time. It does so by heating up the ground, thereby heating the air, and the hot air rising, the cold air falling, and you have the the Gulf Stream and all that moving around. How there are underwater springs. Nobody knew that until I think the early 18th century, and how what else was one other scientific. 1 minute. Okay. All right, I'll move on from there. So, Honey Badger, I hope you can respond to those points. So, Honey Badger said he has no reason to believe in a disembodied mind. Okay. Well, I would say that I have no reason to believe there isn't a disembodied benevolent mind out there, on the basis of these points that I just iterated. And that if he's able to bring a single error, a historical error or scientific error within the Bible, then I will tackle that and respond to that. And if it be so, then I will concede to that. Thank you.
Time. Thank you very much. Okay, Honey.
These your rights. Come on, y'all. You know she wasn't saying that you lose the First Amendment or the right to do X, Y, and Z. She was talking about the come on. And she's right. If they want to search your locker, they can search your locker. The Fourth Amendment does not apply to your locker. The people went into the school. They have every right to go into the school. I think they have what's called administrative warrants if you're talking about ICE. And that happened before Donald Trump. This was true before last week, unless I'm wrong, Kalisha. But I'm not. They can go into your locker. Jesus Christ.
So this was a single school. This was not like a something more general. And the person that did the report, did the news conference, was mistaken about the federal agents that came to the school. Is that what we're saying now?
I guess that's what the news is saying. I mean, I had to look it up after Matt cited to it, like, just so I could check. And everything is saying that it was not ICE. And if they identified themselves to the principal and never went further into the school, how would the teacher know?
To search kids or lockers, you need reasonable grounds. That's the standard.
According to what?
Yeah,
you don't.
Fourth Amendment, yes.
You don't.
Yes, I'm sorry, you're incorrect. There's such a thing as a Constitution and there's a Fourth Amendment.
No.
I can't get around it.
So, Kalisha, let me ask this question. Wasn't that decided by the Supreme Court? Wasn't there a case?
About
school lockers. Or in the case?
I can't remember off the top of my head. Let me see. Yeah, so
that's what I thought.
It's New Jersey versus TLO. The court ruled that school administrators do not need to have a search warrant or probable cause before conducting a search because students have a reduced expectation of privacy when in school.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. See, okay, now that's settled.
So y'all want me to play the video again? No? Okay, thank you.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Why would anybody think that a student's locker would be off grounds for any administrator in the school to open principal whenever they feel like it? It was always the case when I was growing up.
But it's not even your property. It's the school property.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's like they always open. I mean, I remember in school they would always open up and demand people had drugs in there. It doesn't matter. You can only imagine, like, what if it's like somebody that actually has a weapon or something? Like, they have to have these rights, and it's not, you don't get this privacy locker that is subject to any specific rights.
That's right.
Same thing apply to private lockers?
It's school property.
And what if it's not a locker, it's your book bag?
I'm not sure about, like, if something, like, on your person, that is different. But when we're talking about the Fourth Amendment, reasonable grounds is made up language that is only for schools. We're not talking about probable cause or reasonable suspicion. That's not the standard when we're talking about schools. Norm, you literally cited to a page, and the first thing that you read cites to the case that I mentioned. Reading is fundamental.
So I'll read the conclusion. This is New Jersey versus TLO. This was decided in the 80s, I believe, in 1984. This is a 6-3 decision. The court held that while the Fourth Amendment's prohibition on unreasonable searches of seniors applies to public school officials, they may conduct reasonable warrantless searches of students under their authority, notwithstanding the probable cause standard that would normally apply to searches under the Fourth Amendment.
Right, it's a lower standard called reasonable grounds.
Yeah, the point is that what Kalisha was saying was correct. And especially if you have an administrative warrant,
reason the resident have administrative warrant. They're allowed to go into the schools if they want to. Previous administrations advised against going into schools and churches and other forms of sanctuary, but the feds can always go in there. And y'all know it.
But my thing is, if they had the warrant, the school would have to comply, right?
The standard is called reasonableness. Not blanket.
You just gonna keep going, aren't you?
Did somebody answer CJ's question?
Officials, not students. They ask about students, not the officials.
Talking about students. I just put it in the chat.
Fourth Amendment applies to searches conducted by school students. Students. Yeah, they can go in the lockers if they want.
Students and persons. Yeah. And they and their lockers.
No, if the feds can go into the lockers. No, come on.
Yes, but they need a reason that they can't just.
So the federal government, I mean, like what we're talking about here is it would have to be with a school administrator.
Right.
Like a federal agent isn't just gonna like roll up and look in someone's locker.
Because it seemed like the press conference she was saying that the administrators decided they weren't having it. So they have that right as well?
So, like, I think the press conference was just full of misinformation because it sounds like the Secret Service agents spoke to the principal, gave them their cards, and left. It doesn't sound like they ever attempted to interact with any students.
So you saying you think that the teacher is lying?
I mean, she said. The only thing that was different was that she said it was ICE and not the Secret Service, but that's what she said. She said they came, and now she did say that their intent was but she said they came, they were denied entry, and that's it.
Yeah, but like, from what I understood, it's not that the Secret Service was trying to gain entry or access to the student population.
How often do you hear the government going into the school? What do you think they were there for? Like, what do you think they were there for?
I mean, they said it had to do with threats regarding the TikTok ban. Threats against the government, and they had credible threats, and it was
Incredible threats, but they didn't go in.
They went to the neighborhood and then they went to the school.
Yeah, they went multiple places, probably because of the IP address and where it was pinging from.
They just went to the school and were like, "Oh, we're not here to talk to anybody. We just decided to come here." Like,
I mean, it is. And if it was a teacher that was making the threat, they didn't put no teacher, no office person. Let's say it wasn't a child, right? They just went and dropped off a card and say, "Hey, let Fulanito know that I passed by. I came by to check on him."
My thing again is just like, if they need these warrants, these even administrative warrants, obviously if they had the warrant to go into the school, they'd be able to go into the school. Clearly they did not have the warrant. So you're doing what?
Look, you have to have a warrant to be able to seize someone. You do not have to have a warrant to talk to someone. You don't have to have a warrant to enter a space.
There's a threat against a protectee.